SwitchKill Productions presents And Action. Alright guys, welcome back from the not-so-mean streets of Burbank, California. I'm your host, Andrew Young, and this is And Action. What to delve into today? Let's see here. We have a lot of cool announcements for me to give you today. This is something new that I'm starting here. It's called Newest Camera Announcements. I'm going to try and make this about every week or when a new camera or cameras that end up dropping in the near future. So without further ado, let's see. Blackmagic just announced their new Cinema Pocket 6K camera, and it will cost around $2,495. Now this is bad news for people that bought the Cinema 4K camera last year, because now either you're going to stick with what you have at, with the micro four thirds sensor, or you can upgrade to the new 6K version that will come native now with the Canon mount, and this will include a new Super 35 sensor in that camera. So it's going to be a pretty badass beast, especially at 6K at $2,495. Now that's unheard of. That is a great price. In light of that announcement, Red also announced they will be releasing a compact 6K camera called the Komodo. It will use Retro codec. It will come with a RF Canon mount, and it will use CFast cards instead of their expensive RedMat cards. Thank God, because those things get goddamn expensive. It's made to work alongside with their flagship phone called the Red Hydrogen 1. And it's estimated the camera will cost just over $5,000, so it's still not relatively cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than the camera bodies they have out currently. I own a Red Starlet W, and that camera body is around $11,500, so this is much cheaper than that. And finally, Panasonic will release their full-frame 6K S1H camera very soon as well. The estimated price for this camera will be around $4,000. Again, still not cheap, but, it looks like, higher resolution cameras now are getting a lot cheaper than what they were before. At least the industry is heading in the right directions in terms of price, with full capability of, having a higher resolution camera. Now, higher resolution doesn't really mean much if you don't know how to use the camera. So, don't buy one of these cameras and expect to be a cinematographer, because again, if you don't know how to light the scene, if you don't know how to frame up the camera, don't bother. Trust me, this isn't going to turn you into a director of photography overnight. The only way to get that is experience. Experience, 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 period. All right, let's move along to the weekend/week events. It's more week than weekend. I didn't really do a lot this weekend. The only thing I really did this weekend was watch Mindhunter Season 2. It was 9 episodes. It wasn't bad. It's not as good as the first season, in my opinion, but, it's still pretty good. It had a lackluster ending, but, it's an ending that's going to extend you into the third season, so I see why they did that. This week, I believe it was Tuesday, might have been Wednesday, we had a meeting finally for us at Camel. It was me, Brandon, and our first AD, Edgar. And we did it's about 3.5 hour meeting. We're talking about everything that's going on, getting everything situated, because, shoot time, it's coming up, man. It's in October, so we got to be on the ball. We got to jump on, the bandwagon, and we got to ride this monster all the way through until the end of the year. Even though pre-production happens now, we have production, and then we have to go through post-production. So, our work doesn't end after production. Our work keeps going until we release this thing next year. Oh, I have a really, really funny story that happened to me this week. It was a Monday, man. I had the worst case of the Mondays. It was a pretty good day up until that point. I got off work. It was around 4:30. I go up to a parking garage. I park in a parking garage for work, and I look at my car, and I'm like, something seems off. And I look at my tire, and I was like, is that sumbitch flat? I get closer, and I'm like, God damn it, man. My tire's fucking flat. Are you fucking kidding me? So I walk up there, and right now I feel like it's something that would happen to Mick. He's a character from my series coming up called Rusty Camel. So I see this flat tire, right? So I'm like, boo. So I open up the trunk, man. I pull out the spare tire, small ass little bitty donut, and I pull out the tire iron, and then I pull out the jack. And I look at this tire iron, I'm like, man, this is a tiny ass tire iron, but all right. So I go to try it on the tire, right, on my lug nuts, and what's that? Oh, the tire iron doesn't fit? Motherfucker. So I'm like, son of a bitch. So I go to look for, I used to have a 4-way, so I go to look for my 4-way, couldn't find it. So I'm like, son of a bitch. All right, so I'm like, well, motherfucker. It's like, well, shit, now what do? It's like, now I have to call an Uber home, right? So I packed my car up. I'm like, God damn it. I go back down. I tell my boss, I'm like, hey, I'm going to keep my car here overnight. Tire's flat. Tire iron doesn't fit. I have to go buy a new tire iron from AutoZone most likely. And then I'll come back, change the tire, put the donut on, and then I'll take it to Pet Boys in the morning or in the afternoon to get my tire changed, right? So what I did was, after I got off work, took an Uber to AutoZone. This Uber was actually having to go to AutoZone too, so the guy got out with me. I bought my four-way, he bought his things. I go to get another Uber, and then lo and behold, the same guy ends up taking me home. So I guess things kind of worked out in a way. And then moving on to the next day, I did to work. I changed the donut. It took 12-minute stops. I went down to work. I set up an online reservation for Pet Boys in Hollywood. So, I set that up around 8:54 for an appointment at 1 p.m. So I go into this appointment, right? I drop my car off, go in for the appointment. And this guy quotes me a price for one tire for $289.50. And I'm like, excuse me, sir, how much? I was like, what tire are you trying to sell me? Are you trying to sell me, the latest, greatest tire that will never go flat? Because $289 for a tire for one tire is fucking expensive. So I asked him, I was like, all right, so what's your cheapest tire? And he quoted me again, $223. And I'm like, no. So I go online. I'm like, do you have this tire right here? I was like, it's a Starfire such and such, it was $67. Do you have this tire? Yes, sir. Yeah, we have that tire. I'm like, all right, you son of a bitch. He's trying to sell me the most expensive tire they had. I was like, what the fuck? I didn't say this to him. It's just, I was just thinking it. I was like, he's just trying to upsell me the entire time. So lo and behold, the cheaper tire, but it still ended up being $186.90 was the final price. So I asked him, I was like, why is it so much? I was like, if I did it online, it'd be $96.50. And then once you add tax, it'll be like $110. And he's like, oh, well, it's cheaper if you do it online. I was like, what do you mean it's cheaper if you do it online? Shouldn't it be the same price as if I walked in? He's like, no, sir. Well, the online prices are cheaper. I was like, okay, so I'll pay this price today, but next time I'll make for sure that I do it online. So remember this, people. If you go to Pet Boys, go online, pay for your tire or your tires or whatever you need to be done, right? Pay for it. And it needs the date needs to be set up for the next day. So make an appointment for the next day, and then you can get it on the cheaper online price. I'm doing that from this point forward, period. Or I'm just going to buy used tires or half-decent used tires and be a lot cheaper than what they charge me on Monday. Or, well, that day would have been Tuesday. But anyways, moving on. Hoverplane. God damn, man, this goddamn thing picks up fucking planes. Holy shitlet. Listen to that. Holy hell. And this mic is pointed like at me. It's not pointed up. It's pointed right at me. Holy shit. That's crazy. Really sensitive mic. Anywho, to give you context to this, I made a video back when I first started at Full Sail University back in 2014. I made a video about my life at Full Sail, and I did it like 3 months in or whatever, and I was incredibly naive. I haven't gone through the the program yet. I really didn't know what I was getting myself into at the time. When I made the video, I should have waited months after to make this video, but I wanted content. I wanted to get my name out there. I wanted to get some views on YouTube, so I just went on ahead and made what life was like at Full Sail University, and I think it's garnered up to 18,000 views or something like that on YouTube right now. And there's a lot of comments on there. I was reading through the comments, and they've all been wanting an update about what I've been up to since I left Full Sail. So I figured it's about time to finally make an update and let you all know what I've been doing since Full Sail. I switched to online when I moved out to LA in 2015. Switched to online, graduated January of 2017 finally. But in that time frame between moving to LA and graduating, I worked both in the industry and going to school at the same time. So I was working on films as well as doing coursework in between that time. Yeah, it was a lot of hard work. Yeah, it was a lot of sleepless nights, but I finally finished. I finally got my degree, and here I am talking to you today. So I moved with 2 other guys out to LA. We drove from Florida all the way to California in 3 days. This was around, I think it was the fall of 2015 is when we moved. And we drove from, Florida, crossed all the southern states, from the south to the west. So we crossed Florida, Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and then finally Los Angeles or to California. We moved out here without a plan. We moved out here with no place to stay. We just packed up and left. As soon as they graduated, I switched to online the following year. So I basically took off from October to December, and then I switched to online classes at the beginning of 2016. When you move out here to LA, especially nowadays, it's really expensive. Living expenses is really, really expensive. We live in a half decent area in Burbank, right? Not too far from Warner Brothers Studios. And for a 1-bedroom apartment, we pay around $2,200 for a 1-bedroom apartment, right? That's incredibly expensive. So when you move out here, make sure you have a plan. Make sure you have money saved up, or make for sure that you have a for sure job out here. If you don't, you're going to find it incredibly, incredibly hard to make it. Because a lot of people, I see move out here, and 3 to 4 months, they're already gone because they just give up. So another thing is, don't give up when you move out here, because it's going to take time to make it, right? You're not going to be an overnight success. Some people might get that opportunity because they might know the right people, but you're not going to be an overnight success right away. It's going to take time, especially make it out here. That's both crew and actor/actresses alike. I mean, it's hard work. You got to put in blood, sweat, tears. You got to put in a lot of sleepless nights to make it, man. It's not easy. They may make it seem easy in film school, but once you get out in the real world, I mean, the real world smacks you in the face real quick, and you're like, holy shit. You don't realize how saturated the market really is until you leave school and then you try and, get work. But again, connections. When they say, you get most of your work through your connections, they mean that by 100%, man. It doesn't matter if you have a degree. None of that matters. What matters is the connections that you make within the industry. So connections is number one. It's, as I said in Full Sail when I was there, networking, networking, networking. And that is the absolute truth. You have to network to make in this business. If you don't make those meaningful connections, if you don't make those meaningful friends, and just don't, go out there and try and connect with somebody for work, because they're going to catch on for that really quick. Go out there and try and make friends. Be friends with these people. Get to know these people before you start asking them for work. It goes a long way. Because it's really, it's easy to make a connection out here. It's even harder to make friends. And for you to be successful in this business, you're going to need the right friends. And not only friends that'll help you out, but friends you can count on. When you're doing work, when you call upon these people, you want them to show up, right? You want them to do the work, and you want them to do the work right. You want them to do the work to the best of their ability. And the only way to do that is to surround yourself by people that think and act as you do, really. Don't get associated with the wrong crowd. That's another big thing, too. Do not get associated with the wrong crowd. Stay in your own lane. Work hard. There's going to be, a lot of sleepless nights. But as long as you stay in your own lane, you work hard, you put in the effort, you'll make it. Trust me. You will make it. Just do not give up. So now let's move on. My first year here in LA was actually probably from last year was actually my best year I ever had, at least working in LA. Usually your first year is your best. Your second year is often your worst. Third year gets a little bit better. Fourth year a little bit better. And then from then on, it's all about gradually moving up the system or moving up the ladder. Hopefully by year 4, you'll have enough money to be able to take care of yourself, be able to pay bills, be able to pay rent. And that's just getting by. It's going to take a lot longer to be able to, spend money where you want to spend money, where you don't spend money where you have to spend money, but spend money on what you want to spend it on. So there's going to be a lot of years of penny pinching. Trust me, there'll be a lot of those years. Because again, it's very, very expensive to live out here in LA, but you almost have to make it in this industry. Because this is where the work is. It's either here, Atlanta, or New York. So the first year I was here, I worked on a feature film called The Black Room. I worked as a G&E on this set. I came on, I would have worked for free, but the budget that they had a modest budget, but they didn't have a big budget to actually pay me more than what they paid me. I won't tell you what they paid me. It was low, but I was willing to do the work. I was willing to put in the time to get the experience that I needed. So I worked on this shoot for about 8 days. Our longest day was around 18 hours. I think our shortest day was about 15, maybe 14, somewhere around there. It was an incredible shoot. I got a lot of experience on the grip and lighting side. when we had downtime in between our setups, I would watch how other departments would work, mainly camera, because my ultimate goal is to be in the camera team, or was to be in the camera team at that point in time. So, I watched, what the second AC was doing. I watched what the first AC was doing. I was watching the DP and how he handled himself with his camera team and the G&E team alike, with the gaffer, T-Grip, Best Boy Grip, Best Boy Electric, and all the G&Es that were on the crew. That's where I learned most of my lighting skills, or most of my, knowledge about lighting came from that one show, and then from shows thereafter. But, I learned a lot from a guy that we worked with. I think he's worked in the business now for 25, 30 plus years. He owns his own truck, really big truck. I think it was a 10-ton truck. I can't remember, but it was a pretty decently sized truck. He had a lot of lights. He had a lot of grip gear. He had a ton of stuff that we needed. So luckily, we got him, or they got him at a decent price, and they ended up bringing me on to work with them. But that was the first film that I ever worked on. It's called The Black Room. You can catch it on Netflix right now, actually. It's about a sets demon, so it's as good as a sets demon can get, right? But it stars Natasha Henstridge. She was in Species 1, Species 2, that franchise. She was in a couple other movies and TV shows throughout the late 90s, early 2000s. It also starred a lady named Lynn Shay. She was from the Insidious series. She was the old woman in the Insidious series. So, she was a lot of fun to work with. We worked with another guy, I can't remember his name right off the bat right now, but he was one of the sons out of Independence Day. The one that was made in the it was 97, 98, somewhere around there. But again, that was a really fun shoot to work on. That was a great first experience. They say your first feature is usually, a horror film, and my first feature was a horror film. So I'm really glad I got to experience that. Shortly after that, I worked on another TV show called American Ninja Warrior. Most of y'all know, what that show is. We worked on the backlot at Universal Studios, and the cool thing about that show is our base camp was around where the clock tower was for Back to the Future. So it was really cool to see, the backlot in that area, because once we got name tags, to put on that we were part of the crew. So we would I would walk around, while doing work or after I finished work or whatever, I would walk around the studio backlot just looking at all these backdrops that they had, all these, sets that they had. They had New York Street. That's where American Ninja Warrior set up at, and that was really cool to see that, because it was like you were standing in the real city, but you were in Los Angeles. You were on a studio lot. You were on Universal Studios. So it was really fun to see that. And during that show, it was more PA work, so we did more of the grunt work. Me and my roommate, we worked parking one night, and then the other nights we would work actually on set, and then when we were doing the wrap, we would go around, cleaning up. Basically, we were the cleanup crew. But again, a lot of fun, a lot of experience. It was really cool to see how all of that worked. After that, I worked on a short film called The Golden Year with director Salvador Pastowitz. And who is that, you ask? He was the writer for the feature film starring Blake Lively called The Age of Adeline. And that movie is about a young woman who was born at the turn of the 20th century. She was rendered ageless after an accident, and after many years alone, she meets a man who complicates her eternal life she has finally settled into. So it's an interesting movie. And, if you haven't had a chance to see it, I would highly recommend you seeing this movie. But on that set, I worked actually for free on that set, because I wanted camera experience. So I got to be on the camera team this time, and I was second AC. So I basically, ran the slate. I worked in, conjunction with the script soup and the sound team. And again, a lot of really good experience. I worked 2 days on that shoot. So it was a fun 2 days. I want to say we shot on the Red Epic Dragon on that one. So yeah, it was a pretty fun shoot. We shot with Canon Cineprimes. So it was cool to finally see, those lenses in play. All right. Shortly after that, I worked on a show called The Red Booth Show. Now, this is a fun show. It's a TV show. You can see it on, I believe it's U2 America right now. I came on as an operator on several episodes. I think I worked on around 6 episodes, I believe. On this, on the Red Booth Show, they interview a variety of celebrity guests and music artists. So, I got to be around some really, really cool and talented people. Most notably, Jake Busey. I know you all know him from several films back in the day, but he was also in the latest season of Stranger Things. He is also the son of Gary Busey. Really fun guy, really cool guy. I actually got to talk to him a little bit outside of the show about a feature film that I wrote called Vigilantes. Actually, at the time, it was a TV series. So I was, I called him, or I had a friend, recommend me talk to him. I called him up. He called me back a couple hours later. And I just, we just shot the bull about my TV series and how I could go about, getting it made, basically. But, I found out that it's really, really tough. So he really recommended, going the feature film route. So that's what I did. I ended up turning my Vigilantes TV series into a Vigilantes feature film. But again, really cool guy, really knowledgeable. And, it was a lot of fun to be able to talk to him, to be able to pick his brain a little bit. And, to this day, I can't thank him enough. After the Red Booth show, I got my first part-time job in the industry as a camera operator with a company called Orito Media. Now, this was my longest job up to the job that I have now. I worked at this job for about about a year and a half, almost 2 years. We filmed a ton of interviews at this job. Then we filmed a narrative based on each individual interview. I worked here up until about the spring of 2018. That's when the work kind of dried up, at least at that particular job that I had. But that was the longest job that I had up to that point. Shortly after that, I worked on another short film called Lorona Motor Inn, again, as a G&E. I was a grip and electric on that show. It was a 5-day shoot up in Boron, California. And we shot nights in the desert. And it is cold as fuck. Nights in the desert. I'm telling you, cold as a motherfucker up there. Because we shot, this was just before springtime. So it was still fairly chilly, but it was a lot of fun. Again, I learned a lot of new lighting techniques. Shortly after that, I worked on my first short film as director of photography. It's one that I don't normally like to talk about because it was okay, but it wasn't the best. You always have a bad film, and I think that was one of my bad films. And we shot it. I shot this as a director of photography for another film student from NIFA, and it was called Behind the Smile. And we shot this on the Red Scarlet X. But again, it's one I kind of want to scratch off the record books, but it did get me my first start as director of photography in the film business, so I can't really knock it too much. Shortly after that, I got into shooting a couple of music videos. So, shot a lot of music videos after that, more interviews with Orito Media. I worked a lot with Orito Media, actually. At Orito Media, we worked up to about 3 days a week, and we traveled around California a lot. We shot in Los Angeles, Pasadena, Fresno, Oakland, and San Francisco. I really do miss that job, mainly because I love to travel and work. Man, when we were up in San Francisco, we were up there for about a week, and that was a lot of fun because we would shoot our interviews for, up to about 8 hours a day. And then right after that, we would go explore the town. So we would go, explore San Francisco. They gave us a per diem. So I had per diem to eat on every day. I think it was like $50 a day, which was plenty because I would just spend all that on dinner. We would go down to Fisherman's Wharf. We would eat down there. We had a lot of fun down there eating. We went sightseeing around. And if you have a chance to get up to San Francisco, take it. It is a lot of fun up there. Trust me. A ton of fun. Now, following up on all of Orito stuff, so in between that time, I would DP other stuff on my own. And in the fall of that year, which was fall of I think it was 2016, I believe, I shot my first short film called Disturbance. Now, Disturbance is about a guy named Charlie Blake. He's a young best-selling author from Tennessee, and he struggles while the world awaits his third novel, right? He loses himself into alcoholism and a life-altering drug addiction, and he dreams of committing murder to help fuel his newfangled memoir, the thing that he's writing. So that's what drives him into the story. Now, this short film, my short film, it ended up with 1 award and 2 nominations. It won for Best Supporting Actor, and it was nominated twice for Best Short. So, it was a lot of fun to make that. That was technically, that was my thesis film for school. So, because that January I graduated. But it was a lot of fun, man. I shot 2 versions because at school they didn't want weapons and they didn't want depictions of alcohol or drugs. So I had to shoot one with smoking, and then I had to shoot another one, the same stuff again, using what originally I wrote it for with whiskey and drugs. What the fuck is going on outside right now? Now, toward the end of 2016, I worked on another feature called Hacker, again, as a G&E. So as you can see, I took a lot of G&E jobs. I wanted to learn lighting before, I really learned how to become a director of photography or cinematographer. I went the more lighting route instead of going into camera and cinematography work. Now, I still did that, but I also took these lighting jobs just so I can keep my knowledge up on lighting. That feature, again, it was called Hacker, and it starred Hilary Duff's sister, Haley Duff. Now, that was a fun shoot. I worked a couple days on that as a G&E, and I was really glad that a friend of mine, again, there's another connection, called me up and said, hey, you want some work? I was like, you know what? Sure. And we shot this up in Lancaster, California, actually. After this feature, I worked on another feature called Death Day, again, as a G&E. Shortly after Death Day, I worked on a short film called The Derailers, which ended up winning 16 awards. This was a really, highly award-winning short. I was really proud to be a part of this film. And my friend, I won't say his last name, but my friend Joe, another connection of mine that I made out here at the very beginning with another one of my roommates that no longer lives with us. He's off on his own now. He lives on his own, doing his own thing. But he brought me on to his short film called The Derailers. He brought me on as first AC, so I pulled focus for the cinematographer. I also brought on all my camera and grip and electric gear. So I brought on all my lights and my Red Starlet W package. Shortly after that, I shot a music video for the same director, Joe. It's called My Cat Walter, and you can find this on YouTube right now. So it's actually a really fun experimental video. I had a lot of fun shooting this music video. We actually shot this on my Red Starlet W, so we shot on my Red. Shortly after I shot the music video, I ended up landing a full-time job for a film rental company. So this was about a month later. I landed this full-time job finally. After 3 years, I've been looking for a full-time job out here to that I can work and then do my film stuff on the side. So I still, I work, and then my work doesn't end after I get off work. When I get home, I own my own production company, so I rent my own gear out. So, I have that to do, and then I also produce, write, and create for another production company too, or another network, I guess you could say. In between this time, for all the work that I've done, I wrote an award-winning feature film script called Vigilantes. I love this script. I love this concept. I poured my heart and soul into this, and it's one of the best concepts, at least in my opinion, that I've written. I finally LLC'd my production company called SwitchKill Productions LLC. I also rent my camera gear, like I said before, out when I'm not using it. So there's a lot of times I'm not using it, so I just rent it out to other people to make some money on the side. I also partnered with another producer friend of mine. His name's Brandon Stewart. And oddly enough, it just, it's when we met, this was years ago, when we met, we found out that we grew up within 15 minutes of each other from where we were in Kentucky. It shows you how small this world really is. It's like, holy shit, man, you're from here, I'm from here, and it's like, holy crap, that's freaking awesome. I am also the creator and producer of Rusty Camel, and I'm also helping produce another series called Drylands, and they will all premiere on Brandon's network called Brandon TV on YouTube. That's where you can also catch his latest series called Shine Season 2, which is a singing competition that challenges talented, undiscovered artists to write their own music, build their brand, and pitch themselves as the next infamous phenomenon. It's already out now, so please, if you have the opportunity, go on YouTube and check it out. It's called Shine. And finally, to keep up with what I'm doing, or if you want to know where I'm going, etc., you can find me on IMDb at Andrew L. Young. You can find me on Instagram at @TheAndrewYoung, and you can check out my website at www.switchkillproductions.com. All of this, of course, will be linked in the description, so you can easily find it. We have loud bitches outside. Hold for loud bitches. Listen to that. Goddamn. Holy heck. Anywho, I think they passed. So I think I can start again. Yes. I'm so happy right now. Not really, but you know what I'm saying. Anywho, as far as my closing statements go, was Full Sail worth it? That's a lot of people's asked me that question, and there's a lot of ways you can answer that. I say yes, it was, because, I've met a lot of cool people, a lot of people that I still talk to today, a lot of people that I still work with today. If it wasn't for Full Sail, I wouldn't have met my roommates who I moved out here with. And then one of those roommates, got me in contact with one of the best connections and, a very close friend that I consider out here, Joe, that's helped me out a lot. I can't thank him enough. Thank you so much, Joe, for helping me out as much as you have. If it wasn't for, for that, I wouldn't have had these connections. So again, network, network, network. Remember that for future and for, past students from Full Sail or whatever school you go to. It doesn't really matter what school you go to. It's all about networking. Networking, networking, networking. 100%. Remember that. And don't worry. I mean, if you haven't worked on anything notable, anything big yet, don't worry. Your time will come. Just, again, stay in your lane, work hard, and it'll come. Don't work at other people's pace. Other people may move faster than you do. Don't worry about other people. Worry about yourself. You will get there eventually. I promise you, you'll get there. Another question that I get is it worth the price? I paid about $69,000 for this degree, and I'm still paying back on that right now. Right now, it was all federal student loans. I've gotten it down to about $75 a month right now. It's not enough to pay it off right now, but it's enough to pay the interest that it garners each month. So I don't make as much as I should, but again, you just have to work at it. Success isn't gonna come overnight. I got a lot of hats that I'm dipping in and out of. So hopefully, fingers crossed, one of those hats will take off eventually. Another person's asked me, have I ever gotten a job based just strictly off of getting a degree? And in the film industry, no, I have not. No one's ever asked me for a diploma. No one's ever asked me for my degree. None of that. Again, it's based on connections. It's based on who you know. It's based on, again, networking, networking, networking. I cannot stress that enough. So remember that. When they say that in school, listen. That's very important. I'm going to say this one last time because a lot of people get really upset when I say this, or when anybody says this, but for Full Sail is a for-profit college, right? Good for them, right? But again, I learned a lot from my time at Full Sail. It was, it was worth my time. This is in no way was I paid by them to give them, a thumbs up or whatever. This is all coming from my direct experience being, at school. Because before that, I was working a retail job as a cashier / floor person. And I also worked in IT on computers before all of this. So I dropped everything that I had, everything that I was doing to change my life because, I wasn't happy. I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And what I wanted to do was filmmaking. So I made that decision to drop everything that I had, move to Florida, and attend Full Sail. And, all that was worth it. And when I say this with a grain of salt. But for you to make it through school and to make it after school, you have to work at it. You have to put in the work. You're going to have to want to be there. You're going to have to show up for every class. Don't show up for every other class, Show up for every class. Graduate. Put that same work ethic into making it in the business, and you'll be fine. It's all about what you put into it. If you're going to half-ass it, don't bother. Put, 100% effort 100% of the time. That's the way you should look at it. That's the way you should look at everything in your life. If you're going to do something, do it with 100% effort 100% of the time, and you'll be fine. But anywho, I'm really glad I finally got to talk about what I did after Full Sail. There's a lot more that I've done. I just covered the basics. I covered, basically my IMDb credit list, essentially. If you want to know more, please don't hesitate to comment on this, comment on the video, comment on the podcast, and I will, I can update you anytime, on any other future podcast. But again, it was really great talking about this. I'm finally glad I got this out there. I've been pondering about doing another one of these, or doing this for quite some time, and I'm glad I finally got to get it out there. Thank you for dropping by. My name's Andrew Young, and this is Action with Andrew Young. Thank you so much for dropping by. I'll see you next week.